Okay. Hey guys, my name is Ashim and I'm your host for today's session. So a lot of people are new here. So for you guys, I would like to show you our website so that you can get an idea of where you can, see our previous video, session one, session uh, basic introduction to Java. So let me share my screen. So this is our website, techindustry.in. So here you can see there's two new session update here. Every week you will see a session update here where you can register for the upcoming session, and also there is below at the bottom of this you will see a YouTube link and a WhatsApp group link. On WhatsApp group you can join our group and you will get a live update on different sessions, and on YouTube you can see we have uploaded our previous sessions videos. You can visit there and check. Okay, so without wasting you know more time, I would like to hand over this session to Raman, and Raman, you can continue now.
So I think we can directly start with today's session, right? So I just wanted to know, the head count of people who have at least attended one of my sessions, the previous week sessions. Yeah.
Yes, sir. This is Vijay Lakshmi from Bangalore. So,
Hello.
hello. Can
Yeah.
you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Yes.
This is Vijay Lakshmi from Bangalore. I'm a fresher, sir.
You are a fresher. Great.
Yeah.
Welcome, Vijay Lakshmi. And before starting the session, I just want to make one point. Please don't call me sir. I am not sir. I am. You can just call me by my first name. So this is one of the important points when you move towards tech industry. And I guess like most of you or almost all of you who are not already in job or in a technical job or in IT job. So how things work here is we call each other with our first names, right? So this is just a knowledge sharing platform wherein if somebody who is actually interested to share their knowledge, and if they are confident about it and they can host this kind of session, so I would really appreciate that if people come in and join us. So we are looking to expand from that side as well, but then this is just the start of what we thought of a month back, and I think we are doing good till now. So I have some writing ready. Okay guys, so I'll I'll just give a little bit introduction of what happened in the last session on OOPS part 1, right? And that was on abstraction concept. And post that we'll just start with today's session. We'll cover other aspects of OOPS, which includes encapsulation, and we have inheritance, and we have polymorphism. I hope to cover it in 1 hour. Okay. So I won't take much time. I'll just try to finish it in 2 minutes. So we talked about abstraction in last session. If anybody remembers anything on abstraction, maybe you can contribute. Anyone wants to say something on abstraction? What happened in last week?
Yeah, actually in last session we studied that Java, if we have to do the abstraction,
Okay.
then we are having the 4 levels of abstraction in Java as you are showing. So
Okay.
from down to bottom, from bottom to up, as we go, the level of abstraction increases.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So you got it correct. So we have these 4 levels of abstraction. Usually when we talk about abstraction, we say that it's hiding of data, right? Or but this is used for security purposes. So if we have some integration with outside world applications other than our application, or maybe we have REST calls or something, therein we do not usually expose our classes directly to the client, right? So which is not a good practice, or which is not a good architecture if you consider security in mind, right? So for that, Java engineers came up with this concept of abstraction, wherein they wanted to hide data. So this abstraction they can achieve using these 4 levels. The top level being interface, where we do not show anything in interface. We just have method names and nothing else. There's no definition at all, right? Then we talked about abstract classes, wherein we have some features of interface and some features of a concrete class. So when we put both together, an interface and a concrete class, that gives us an abstract class, right? So here you can see on this side we have, it's just a diagrammatic representation of how an interface looks. So an interface A has interface methods which are not defined, right? Which are not described. We have just given the method names here, and there's no implementation at all. Then we talked about abstract classes. So abstract classes, we have some methods which do not have implementation, and we can have some abstract methods which have implementation, and we call those methods as abstract, and the class abstract class. Then we, guys, somebody can mute. There's little disturbance. Yeah. Yeah, great. Thank you. Then we talked about concrete class. These are the day-to-day normal classes that we use when we are writing some programs, right? So these classes have a lot of methods, and which we use to build applications. Then we have final class. Final classes are are at the least level of abstraction, right? So we talked about final class, and everything is implemented in final class. There's no there are no methods which look like as the methods in interface. Like, we do not have methods which do not have implementation. All the methods have implementation in a final class, so which makes it least abstract. And if you want to achieve 100% abstraction, then you use interface. But then if we actually see in a real life project, so we have all of these, we use everything. We have interfaces, abstract classes, we have a lot of concrete classes, and we do have final classes in Java, right? So I just made it look like question and answer. So if this is an interview, maybe I ask you how to achieve abstraction. So there are 4 ways or 4 levels using these. So this was a little background on what happened in last class. We explained it with examples. So moving forward to today's session, which is encapsulation. So yeah, before I start speaking, I would like some definition from your side. Some of you are already aware of this concept, or at least heard about it, right? It can be a textbook definition also.
Having data and code as a single unit.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. Thank you, Ashish. So yeah, when we talk about a wrapping up of code and data in a single unit, so why do we do that if we are actually doing it?
To promote encapsulation. Sorry, to promote this thing. What was that?
What is that?
I mean, I'm not getting that exactly what. I mean,
Okay.
not getting it that.
And that's fine. That's all right. Anyways, thank you. Anybody? So we already have one definition, which is a wrapping up of members and methods as one unit, right? Right. Encapsulation is something where we put data members and methods together, right? So what is that place or what is that space in Java where we are already doing that? These are all big terms, I would say, encapsulation, but then we are already doing it. We have already done it in our first session on objects, if you have attended that classes on objects. So we are already doing it. So can anyone who has attended tell me what I'm referring to?
Making the variables private.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, I am talking about a class, right? So when we talk about a class, it comes with both data members and I'll just show you when we talk about class, right? So you can see here, we talked about class, how to create a class in Java. We had fields as well as methods. So this is almost 99% of encapsulation here. But then what will be the addition is we have to make our data members private, right? So it's a good practice, and almost everywhere in the industry, if you're writing code, so we are always using this practice. We will use members as private, and to access these members we will use setters and getters, setter and getter methods, okay, to access these private members, right? So it's like an indirect way of accessing those variables, okay. So maybe this diagram you can relate with. So let's say there is there's a requirement wherein we want to have details of users, okay, and what will be the class or data that we gather from user will be username, password, name, age, and country of the user, right? So what we'll do, we will add one variable called private in front of all these. Till now, what we how we have done coding here was we used directly integer age or string name, string password, right? We never looked at this aspect, whether it is private, whether these variables are public or any other type, right? So when we talk about encapsulation, we have to make it private. So before making it private, I'll just discuss what are the different types of access modifiers. This keyword is called access modifier in Java, right? And this is access modifier for member variables, okay, or data members or fields or properties of a class. So in Java, we actually already discussed this in our second session. We have 4 different types of access modifiers. We have private, we have protected, public, and what is the last one? Guys,
Default.
are we absolute beginners? Like, okay, great. Yeah, we call it a default in our language, but if you actually look at Oracle documentation, there's no mention of the word default. They call it package private or no explicit modifier, right? So, so you, yep, I just had this URL ready. So I just wanted to show you when we talk, this is Oracle documentation, you can see, right? So JDK 8. So we have 2 different ways of defining modifiers. One is at class level, right? At the top hierarchy, top level for class. So for class, we have 2 types. One is public and one is package private or default one. We do not have private or protected for class. And we are not talking about this. It's just mentioned here, so I wanted to highlight. We are talking about this point. At the member level, we have these 4 types. One is public, one is private, one is protected, and we have one more, package private. So yeah, and when we talk about these four, what kind of accesses does Java give us for these four? Anybody? Okay, I'll talk about top three: public, private, and protected. Maybe you can go default. Okay. So when we talk about private modifiers, so guys, I don't want these things to go bouncers to you, right? If you're absolute beginners, if you do not understand this, just let me know. Okay, so we can just hold it and we can clear these doubts first, because there are many people who are new to this session. I hope you guys are following with me, right? Where's the chat window?
Yes.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. So guys, I am completely new to this tool. It's little. Just drag it to this side. Yeah. Okay. We have chat box here. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So yeah, I have 5 to 6 yeses, and there's somebody who is saying not audible. Okay, maybe we lost that net. Yeah. So yeah, when we talk about private modifiers, private is something which restricts our access, and in encapsulation we'll talk about private modifiers only. Okay, so private will restrict our access to the class where it is mentioned. Okay, so you somebody is doing some nice drawings here from Zoom. Okay, so when we talk about private, we are restricting the access to outside of that class. Okay, so let's say we have a class. Yeah, here you can see a class employee. Okay, I have given it public, and we can add two here. One is public, and if we do not mention it, will be default one. Yeah, and for these member variables I was talking, right, we can have private as their modifiers. So when we talk about private, what do I mean? I mean that these variables name and salary are not visible to other classes. Okay, so when we are coding something in Java or in any other language, what happens, these classes can interact with each other and they can access data of each other. Okay, so data can be accessed using multiple ways, which is one, directly you can access variable name using variable name, like name or salary, and using methods, right? Or you can say getters and setters, because these are also methods. So let's say you are an employee of some organization, right? And you have some salary. Let's say you have a 6-digit salary or a 7-digit salary, right? And of course, nobody wants their salaries, to be visible to others. So to design all that, if some hacker comes in and he can just give your class name or your your object name and object name dot your salary. That's how we do it in coding. So they can actually take out all your data. So how do we restrict it? How do we make sure that your salary is not shared with somebody who should not have access to it? So this is one of the ways to achieve that, and Java has done it beautifully using these access modifiers, right? So if you make it private, if you have a different class, let's say we have one more class called public class admin, right? Even an admin guy cannot access your salary if your salary is mentioned here as a private, right? So how do we access it? If you do not have if it is all private and other classes cannot access your salaries, right, then how do you get your salary in your bank account, right? So there's a way to do that, and we do that using methods, or in our case we call it getters and setters, right? So with each field, all the IDEs, all these tools have given us this feature wherein we can directly generate getters and setters. These are just basic methods, nothing else. So if you have one field called name, right? So how do these methods look like? If it is name, it will be set name and get name, right? And it will have this name as parameter. So if somebody wants to access your name or your salary, right? So they will call this method get name, okay? And this get name method, right? It will return name from this class, right? So this is what I try to explain using this diagram. So if somebody outside world wants to access your data, okay, directly using your variables or your fields or your properties, they cannot do it, right? Let's say we have somebody Ashish here, right? So if they give the username as Ashish Sharma dot username or dot password, right? You wouldn't want anybody to have access to your passwords, at least, even if you're okay with your salaries, right? So if somebody writes like this Ashish Sharma dot password, they can have your password. But since we want to avoid it, so Java engineers have developed a way wherein you can have the details using public methods. Okay? So public getter methods are used to get the values for an outside organization. Here, if they want to use this data, they have to go through this route, not the direct route. Okay, and they have to use get method. Of course, if you want to have something, you will use get method. If you want to put back something, let's say somebody, your HR, after your yearly increment, they want to update your salaries. So if they want to update your salary, so what they'll do, they will call the setter method. Okay, or by luck you get an offer to go to an on-site of onshore location, right? We call it on-site. So they have to change your country, right? So to do that, they will call it, the HR has to call this method. So this is all happening internally, and internally it is calling this set country method to set your country or your salary. I hope this is okay, right? So we have, what are we doing here? We are just making our variables private and our methods public for others to access. So that's it. That's encapsulation. And when you put these two things together in a class, you already achieved encapsulation, right? So what we are doing when we created class, we're already using these variables and public methods, right? But we didn't mention this private keyword here. So this is how encapsulation is achieved in Java. So I hope I am clear, guys. I think we have some message. Great. So guys, yeah, if you face any difficulty or if you have any data issue or there was some urgency, you can come back. We will try to upload our sessions as soon as possible, but it will take at least one day, right? So yeah, that's how we achieve encapsulation in Java. So I'll quickly cover up these keywords as well. So when we talk about protected is something when we want our data to be accessed by the same class, of course. So private is the most secured one. The next level is protected. Protected, definitely the class which has it can access, and one level of inheritance. If there is a subclass which has inherited this class, so let's say there's a parent and there's a child. So a parent class, I'll come to that concept of inheritance after this, right? So protected will work in these two cases. One is at class level. Second is if somebody has inherited, or if somebody is a subclass to your parent class, they can have access to your fields, to your data members. So these are the concepts of access modifiers. Then the most basic one that we usually use is public. So public has access to everything, right? So if there's an outside organization who wants to access your fields, you just make it public. Yeah. So the internet class is outside packages, outside applications, or outside this world also. Anybody can use this public modifier, right? Then we have default. Default is specific to that package, right? It is specific to that package, or it is limited or constrained to that package where it is defined. Okay. And I hope you understand what packages are. Yeah. So this was about encapsulation. So yeah, that's what is written here. How do we achieve encapsulation in Java? So we have to declare instance variables of the class as private so that it cannot be accessed directly by anyone from outside the class, right? That's what we talked about. And we have to provide public getter and setter methods in the class to set or modify or to get in the data of that class. How do we achieve it? Using private access modifiers. Only private, not this public protected. And if we have this kind of setup in Java or in a class where you see private members and setters and getters, we call it a POJO class, right? If somebody asks you this question, you can directly answer. It is POJO. POJO means plain old Java objects, right? So these are plain old Java objects wherein we define a class using private variables and public methods. Okay. So are we good so far?
Yes.
So you are saying that in layman words we can say it as an gatekeepers as a setters and getters.
You can call them gatekeepers, right? So if so using these gatekeepers, you can access whatever is inside your house or your room or apartment, right? If only these gatekeepers allow you, you can
Just
come in and see. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
and also like they are keeping us a nicknames to our variables and getting the variables, not knowing the name of the variables to outside the world, outside the package.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what we discussed. So these so if somebody's sitting outside our class, they don't know what is inside, right? So since we have private, so these public methods or these gatekeepers, they will help us to get or set, to fetch the data or put back the data in our classes. So uh, I would like to ask to all the newcomers today. So we talked about this concept of encapsulation. Is that clear, or was I going too fast, or was that bouncer to you, or is it good? Okay, it's good. Okay, yeah. So POJO is just a plain old Java object, right? So if you see, I'll take you back to the previous slide. If you see here, to this, what was that example? Yeah, right. So here we see we have a class and we have two variables. And since I had limited space, so I just used setter and getter for only one variable called name, right? So public setter name and public getter name. So when these classes are converted to objects, when you create a new object, as we talked about in the previous sessions, so from class we can create objects using constructor or using new keyword, right? So when we create objects out of these plain classes, they become POJOs, okay? And we call them plain old Java objects, okay? So that is POJO. POJO is a very basic or zero level definition of a class wherein you have private variables and public setter getter methods. And using POJO, we can achieve encapsulation. That's what encapsulation is, right? Yeah, great. So, yeah, with that, we complete our encapsulation and then introduction to abstraction and objects and classes. So we'll move to the next concept, which is inheritance. Yep, I would like to have your understanding on inheritance and then we can discuss it together.
Yes, Raman, Kanchana here. Am I
Sorry?
audible?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, inheritance is a process of one class acquiring the properties of another class.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it can be referred as a easy relationship.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's correct.
The class which shares the properties can be called as superclass,
Yes,
and the properties which can acquire is referred as a subclass or a derived class.
that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
we can make
Child
use of
class too.
extents. Sorry.
hello.
We
Yeah.
can call it as also child class.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
We can use the extend keyword in order to achieve the inheritance.
Okay. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So yeah, we have almost everything on inheritance here. Yeah. Thank you for that. Anybody else? Anybody wants to say something on inheritance or give a real life example of inheritance? So we.
Sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt. Multi-level inheritance is not possible because it will create a diamond shape problem, which is ambiguity.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, but I think that's that's the last point that we'll talk about in inheritance. But then yeah, that's right. That's perfectly correct. We had this concept in C++, but Java didn't inherit that feature from C++. Yeah. Yes.
Raman, in layman terms, in my understanding, can I say that so inheritance is nothing but if you give properties to one class, if you want to determine the same properties in another class, then we no need to give another again properties for that. So just we derive the same properties declared already and getting that all properties and the functions for that subclass too. So there we call the first class as a parent class and second class as a child class. We can access from the parent class to child class, but we cannot access any data to parent class.
Yeah. So yes, I think we are good with inheritance. Yeah, so far whatever has been shared, that is correct. So and as Sunil told in layman terms, it is inheritance is basically inheriting some features, right, from a parent to a child. So I'll give a very basic example I can relate. So in our families itself, sometimes we see one of the child, they have some people have, some children have blue eyes, and they are inherited maybe from their dad or mom or their grandparents, right? So these are the basic examples of inheritance that we have actually seen. Almost everybody would have seen, or your nose is like that, like a parent, or something, you know. So what Java engineers did, they just wanted to have this feature in Java also, right? And how do we achieve it? We achieve it using inheritance concept. And why do we want? Okay, great. So yeah, we were talking about inheritance in very basic terms. We talked about having features of your parent, right? So why do we need inheritance in Java? So what happens is if we have a class, right? If we have a class, it has data members and data and methods. And if there is a method that is already doing some job, why do we want to do that job again, right? And that's what the Java engineers, they thought. And in fact, this concept has been inherited from the other languages, from C++, and C, right? So what those engineers thought, they thought of, using these features which are already using the functions that are already there in one class. Why do we want to have or write that code again and again? Why don't we just use that function for our benefit? And that's where inheritance concept was born. Okay, so if we look at this class animal, this is a very basic example, right? I have mentioned it as, you can call it a super class, you can call it a parent class, whatever you wish. So this animal class has three
Raman, I
things here.
don't, I'm not able to see your screen. Are you sharing your
Ah,
screen?
oh, sorry, we just lost. Yeah, we lost that internet connectivity, right? Great, thanks for mentioning. I hope you can see it now.
Yes.
Yeah. So here you can see, right, we have a animal class, which is a super class or a parent class. And what are the properties that we can think of in an animal class? So I could just recall these: animal type and age. What can be the age of that animal, or maybe color? There may be multiple. So let's say if we talk about animal types, we have we have mammals, we have reptiles, we have birds, right? We have fishes. So all these things. So these are properties, and we have one feature which is eat. So all the animals, they eat, right? Or you can have one more feature like move. Almost, not almost, all the animals except trees, they are not animals, right? So all animals move, if you do not consider coral reefs. So so these features are common to all of them, right? So why don't we have this feature at a top level, and the other classes, they just use it, right, instead of rewriting the code? So when we look at the class subclass dog, right? So what are the features? Just don't look at this extension anymore. What are the features? Subclass dog has feature called breed, right? And apart from this feature, it has features like methods like bark and eat. So a dog can bark and a dog can eat, but an animal, if we do it vice versa, an animal is like, all the animals did not bark, or all the animals eat but they do not bark, right? So this feature, this eating feature, is a feature that our dog does, right? Or any other animal does. Or if you talk about fishes or mammals or reptiles, anybody. So whatever features are common to animals, we just took all those features and put it in our superclass, and whatever animal will put that feature in that class. So this is specific dog feature, right? So it will be here. Now, I think I'll better explain this with an example. Yeah. So so this is the exact same code, right? So we have a class animal, which is a super class here, or a parent class, with these three features and these two methods, right? So what we are talking here, a subclass can have features, can have all the features and all the methods from a parent class animal, okay? Which means if we have these three features like animal type, age, and color, these features can be inherited in this dog class, and we have this method eat. This method also can be inherited here in dog class, right? If you want to see it, we'll show in this inheritance app example. And we had this specific feature of dog called breed, and this specific method. So to separate between these two classes. So I'll just comment this part. So all these classes are in the package inheritance here, and what I'm doing here is creating a new object, creating a new animal object using this new animal constructor, right? Now, if we have an animal created in somewhere in heap, we talked about this memory in last session, right? So if we have already this animal object in our heap, what can we do with this? This animal has some features here, eat and sleep, right? So we can call these methods animal.eat and animal.sleep. So let's see how it works. Right? So when we call animal.eat, animal.sleep, it has called these methods, right? So animal is eating and animal is sleeping. You can see it here on the console. Now, this is like basic object creation and using the methods of that object. Now, if we talk about this dog class, right? So what we did here, we created a new dog object. Okay. So what I'm going to show you here is yeah. So you can see this function dog.bark. So we just created a method. We call this method bark here, right? We created an object dog and we call that method here, and which has given us this line since we called it using dog object. So what I want to highlight here is if you want to use an animal feature, we are using an animal object reference to call its methods. So using animal.eat. And if I want to use a dog feature called bark, which is here, we are calling it using dog.bark. Okay. Now, since we already know dog is an animal type, right? So dog should also be able to access whatever is here in animal, each and everything, right? Even the string, byte type and string type, right? All the features as well as methods. So what I'll do, I'll just comment it here. Okay. So what I did here, I created a dog object, dog equal to new dog, right? And I'm not calling a feature which is dog, right? Dog just has one feature called bark. But here what we are doing, we are calling these two methods, eat and sleep, which are actually part of animal, right? So what do you think? Will this work? Hello. Are you there, guys?
Yes, Raman. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So I will run this program and we'll see this magic. right? So what we did here, we created a dog object. We used a dog reference variable, or you can say an object here, to call a animal method, and it has actually given us this, right? So what we did, from a dog object, we actually used an animal and a method that was in animal class. So I hope I am clear, guys, here, right? So this is called inheritance, wherein a subclass or a child class uses a feature from a parent class. Now we missed one thing. So how do we achieve it in Java? We have to use this extends keyword. This is very important, you know. Without this, it will not work. So you have to write extends to what? This is a child class or subclass. So a child class has to use extends keyword to inherit features from a parent class. So if you just give these two keywords, extends as well as along with the parent class name, you are good to go. You have all the features, your subclass or your child classes, all the features that a parent class has, and you already have your features also. So I think we are good, right? So any questions so far, guys? Anybody?
Can you explain about multiple inheritance, Raman, if it possible?
Yeah, of course, yes. So if you are talking about multiple or multi-level,
Anything. I mean, I don't know the difference. I just like I thought multiple only is there. I don't know
okay,
multi-level.
I got it.
Can you explain
That's
both?
fine. That's fine. Yeah.
Raman, if private, sorry to interrupt, just one question from previous. What if we mark the E?
Hello.
Yeah, Raman. So my question is, am I
Mhm.
audible?
Yeah, I can hear you. What if we mark
The methods in animal class in parent class as private.
these methods?
Yes,
Okay. What do you think will happen?
I think they won't get, as we read in access modifier class, they won't get. Dog
That's right.
cannot use those methods.
Right. See, if I just make this private and see, it is giving me this. It is not used locally. Means you can use it in only in this class. Do you get my point? And you can see there's an automatic error here,
Okay.
right? But
Raman,
but
like
but
one more question.
if you use protect, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
So since we talked about protected keyword, and protected can be used at one level of inheritance, right? So here we are able to use it normally. Fine. Any other question?
Like, yeah, Raman, like that this one dog dot bark you have given, right? So can we do the type casting here, and can we call that bark method over here? As
Sorry,
this bark method is a specialized method, right? Am I audible? This last one is
you
in a
are
dog.
audible, but it's not clear. Yeah. So can this last method you're talking about, right? Hello.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So what's the question?
I mean, I'm talking about that dog dot bark is there, right? That method.
That's right. Yeah. So you want me to comment it? Okay.
So
Now.
can we do the typecasting?
Okay. So why do we want to do typecasting here?
I mean,
What
so
is
that they can.
typecasting, first of all?
So like when we are like when we have one reference which is pointing. Suppose we have a child reference which is pointing to the method which is in children, but we are using the parent object to access
Okay.
so what we have to do, we have to tell that
You
compiler
mean
that what.
you mean to write like this?
No.
Okay. Then how?
So like what I am asking is like the dog is there, right? So put into the
Yeah.
bracket and we can tell them that the dog class is animal. Yeah. Uh, so no, I'm just asking. I'm not sure about that. So I'm just asking whether it is possible or not.
I think,
Okay.
Raman, that will come under polymorphism topic.
Typecasting does not come under polymorphism. Actually, it's a different topic altogether. I understand what you are asking now. So you want me to write something like this animal here, and then see if this works, right? Something like this.
Yeah.
And here. And then you want me to typecast this.
Yeah. Correct.
Typecast to what?
A dog
Dog
like
or animal?
that dog one.
This one. No, this will not work. Right?
Okay. Okay. So we need to keep
So
bracket then.
yeah, I think we can maybe take it up in typecasting if we are doing it at a later point of time. Okay. So yeah, this was about inheritance and encapsulation today. So do we have any other questions? I think we'll wrap it up and we'll have overloading and overriding encapsulation. Sorry, polymorphism in next lecture.
What are the different types of inheritance?
So actually there's nothing as such like types of inheritance. These are all made up terms. So if you are doing something like this, if you have an animal class, right, and then a dog class is inheriting, and then there's a specific animal, let's say you have Pomeranian, that Pomeranian is inheriting from this dog type, then this is, we call it multi-level inheritance. So Pomeranian is extending dog, and dog in turn is extending animal. So dog will have features of dog and animal, and Pomeranian will have its own features along with dog and animal, right? And somebody mentioned multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance in C++ times we used to do it like this. We'll call one more class here. Which one? Let's take class here. So in Java, we do not have this concept actually. This concept was there in C++. And this actually gives a time to time and problem. So we are good, right? So guys, yeah, thank you. Thank you for attending this session. I think we had a very nice session today. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Hello. So guys, if you have any question, you can ask now, or you can type in chat box if you have any questions. And also, you can also type in our WhatsApp group. Raman is also there in WhatsApp group. He will solve your questions there also. So yeah, thank you, Raman, for this nice session. Okay, yeah, class
Okay.
apparently, yeah. Every week, no, Java class is every week on Sundays, and we have a big data and data analytics session on Saturdays, 6 to 7, same time. So one more thing, guys, we will be sharing a feedback form with you guys after this session. Do share your feedback, honest feedback, and yeah, please do share feedback. Okay. Yeah, it will cover whole Java. So about syllabus, we have to discuss that with our speaker, with Raman. Then I can only. So Raman, if you want to.
Yeah. So syllabus, as in, I didn't get you. This is not a university course or college course. We do not have syllabus, but then we will be covering almost. I'll try to cover almost everything that is part of core Java, right? So we will, after this, after oops, we will touch exception handling. We will look at collection. We have a look at elections. We will see how new features come up in Java. Yeah, that's what is planned so far, and we'll see like what are the things you would want me to come up with. So we can discuss that as well. And yeah, we are planning not just one project. I'm planning to have multiple projects. At least 2 or 3 projects we'll be doing. So these projects will cover core Java, as if we move to advanced Java and we have a good count. So we'll have a full web-based enterprise edition kind of a project. But yeah, all these things will take time because we have to consider all the crowd and freshers. People do not know even private and public, so yeah, it will take good amount of time. Right? Anything else? And guys, please share the feedback form.